procrastination, I'll eat this up. Babe, I know that it's your soul, but could you bottle it up? Get down to the heart of it, no, it's my heart, your shit out of your luck. Don't make me tell you again. Woo! Love, love, love. Hey. Love, 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 love. I do it for love. Love, love, love. Uh-huh. Do it for. Yeah. Do it for. Do it for. I do it for the love, yes I do. For you.
Oh, that does not sound healthy. That does not sound healthy. Hey guys, welcome to DRZ Destruction Volume 3. Today I'll be exploding my DRZ. And speaking of the DRZ, this is going to be a video about super motards. Yes, it's true. I am fully motarded. I have been converted. I love my DRZ. Well, maybe love is a strong word for something that's this rough, but like I've explained in the previous video with the off-roading, this bike's great. It's heaps of fun. It's, you know, fairly comfortable. The seating position is upright, which is comfortable. The seat's a hot dog. I am actually thinking about selling this bike and upgrading to a different motard. So this video might be sort of like a bit of a motard buying guide. So anyway, what's out there? Well, there's a few choices in the motard world. There's probably not as many choices as there are in the sport bike world. It's sort of a balance between maintenance and power when you talk about motards. It really depends what you want. Do you want a track weapon that's going to blow the head off every time you twist the throttle? Or, you know, do you want something a bit more reliable? You don't have to do a top-end rebuild every time you go on a ride. And the DRZ's really at the bottom of the performance scale, but it's right at the top of the reliability scale. It's not really a motard, it's more of a trail bike, as you probably know. It's relatively low performance, it's relatively heavyweight, but it's a bucket of fun, and it's really quite powerful compared to a 250 anyway. Now on the other end of the spectrum, we're talking about race motards. We're talking about, you know, two-stroke CR 500s, talking about Aprilia SXV 550s. It's really up to you where you want to pick on the motard spectrum. The motard spectrum, that sounds like a medical condition that your little brother was diagnosed with in 3rd grade. So what motard do I want? Well, not really sure. I know I want something faster than this. That's my baseline. And what I actually did was, being an IT nerd, I created a spreadsheet, and in my spreadsheet I put down sort of, you know, brand, displacement, I put the power down, I put the weight down, and then I did a power to weight conversion just in Excel, nothing fancy, and I figured out what power to weight each bike has. Then what I did is I went on, you know, Gumtree or Bike Sales. I found the average prices for that model of bike, and then I made another formula, which actually I don't exactly know how it works, but I know it works. It's basically a formula dividing the price of the bike to, g'day mate, the price of the bike to the amount of power to weight it has. Motard! What I ended up with was actually a means of measurement, you could call it, comparing the price to the power to weight ratio. And then I sorted it by cheapest price to highest power to weight ratio. What I found was the DRZ 400, this DRZ 400 came out on top. Now the only reason it came out on top was because I only paid $1,500 for it. So you can't really beat that power to weight ratio or power to price ratio. So the second bike on the list was a Husqvarna FS650. What a beast. It's like 65 horsepower, 105 kilograms dry, and it's just a beast. I found one online for about $4,000, and I was cheering until I went on Google and I just typed in Husqvarna 650 parts. 0 results. So I went on the forums. I was like, maybe there's a guy on the forums who sells parts. So I typed in Husqvarna 650 parts, 1 million results. Guess what every thread was saying? Hey guys, I'm after like a crank rod bolt shaft thingamajiggy for the old second cylinder, even though it has only one cylinder. I'm after that part, can you help me out? 0 replies. So my dreams of owning a Hasselberg 650 were pretty much gone at that point. These wheelies are terrible. That's what happens on a low compression DRZ. Oh yeah, completely forgot to mention, this video is not for people who hate motards. So I have a friend who shall remain nameless, who, he's gonna watch this video and he's gonna know it's about him. But anyway, this friend, let's call him Jimmy Bob Bill. So Jimmy Bob Bill was chasing a girl, as you do, young chap, you know, after the poontang. And a girl, much like this one you see on the left. Meow. Anyway, this girl, I can't exactly remember all of the details, but... Oh, that didn't sound healthy. That did not sound healthy. I can't remember all of the details, but unfortunately he didn't quite manage to pull the girl, and actually he ended up losing the girl to another guy who was chasing her, who actually rode a motard. And he found this out, and every time I mention motards to him, he cries. So if you lost a girl to a motard rider, I'm sorry, but we're just more manly than you. You just have to deal with it. And if you want to send your complaints, you can send them to 123 I don't give a. So after all that, going through the Hasselberg, going through the list, I was checking out Husqvarna's SMR 610s. They're a bit slow and fat, not my style. Then I was checking out, sorry. Didn't even wave, that was rude. And I was checking out the 450s. My friend Steph, aka Awkward Motovlogger, she has an SMR 450. They're awesome bikes. That's a possibility. Then I test rode the Aprilia 450, the SXV, the beast, the legend. So if you want to go and check out that video, click here. So I think I've decided that I want a SXV 550, which is crazy. It's got 70 horsepower, it weighs 100 kilos dry. It's just a bit silly, let's be honest. It's a little bit silly. So if I buy that, maybe that'll be a third bike. I don't know. Shit's cray. Hashtag got too much money. Hashtag not really. Hashtag please subscribe. The other thing I was considering was actually just buying a dirt bike. So something that's been only used in the dirt. Usually the engines and the components are in a little bit better condition than road motards. Oh, this road's so bumpy. And the reason being, 2 reasons I guess. The owners of motocross bikes, you know, generally they know what they're doing. They've invested time into a hobby and not riding on the road. So they've invested time into their bike, and it means that they've kept it well maintained, I should say. The second reason is generally dirt is a little bit less stressful on the suspension and the final drive components and even the engine, because generally, and I say generally, you'll be riding in loose gravel, dirt, things like that, as opposed to hard tarmac, and you won't be doing any sustained high RPMs like you would on a motard on the freeway. So anyway, I went down that path. I was looking at dirt bikes and looking at the conversion costs and what's required to make it a motard. And honestly, converting a dirt bike to a motard costs a lot of money. I was so surprised. So you've got to factor in the price of the rims, and the rims themselves, if you get the really cheap, like Chinese-made rims, they're at least $800 Australian, so it is prohibitive in that sense. I'm not going to be a dick, I'm just going to chill here. That's how we do it. Filter into the front, doesn't have to be a competition. Give the cars a little bit of room, and generally you'll get room back. So rims are expensive, tyres are expensive. If we forget about that for a minute, you also need to consider brakes. Brake sizes and calipers will not be compatible between dirt rims and motard rims. So you need to factor in the cost of new disc brakes, brake pads, brake calipers, all that stuff. Then you're talking about suspension. Like if you want it to be competitive in a Supermoto race, dirt bike suspension is a bit too soft, so you need to either respring the forks or add heavier fork oil or just upgrade the components entirely. So it becomes very pricey. So your $3,000 dirt bike isn't that cheap anymore. You're talking about $3,000 plus another $3,000 to get competitive in a Supermoto race. Now, if you don't really care about racing, or you don't care about handling as much, then it's probably not a big deal. But you're still looking at $1,500 for the conversion, and sometimes it's actually cheaper, and you get better quality components to simply buy a Supermoto from the factory. A good example of this is the Hasselberg. They've got the FS models, which are factory super motard, and they've got the FE models, which is like factory endurance. If you're wondering why my DRZ sounds like a ticking time bomb, it's because I'm a terrible human being. Anyway guys, I think that summarizes the old Supermotard buying experience. Performance versus reliability, and then converting from a dirt bike to a motard might be viable, but in most cases it's actually not viable, which is surprising. Anyway guys, as I blow up my poorly maintained DRZ 400, I'll be off. Cheers! Basically knee down, basically Rossi, just a casual knee down, just casual Rossi, real casual Supermoto. Just a real casual, whoa, just a real casual Caterpillar, what the hell?